Have you ever experienced something so painful that it completely changed the way you look at life? We've all faced moments of pain, whether physical, emotional, or mental, and it's easy to think of pain as something we just want to escape. But what if I told you that every painful experience you've gone through has the potential to teach you something deeply important? And not only that, but these lessons could actually change the course of your life forever? Today, we're going to dive into this profound idea. Every pain gives a lesson, and every lesson changes a person. We'll explore how, no matter how difficult the pain, there's always something valuable to learn from it. And once we absorb those lessons, we're left with the power to transform ourselves and our lives in ways we may not have imagined before. Let's start by acknowledging that pain is a universal experience. Everyone goes through it at some point in their life. Whether it's the heart-wrenching grief of losing a loved one, the crushing disappointment of failure, the frustration of broken dreams, or the anger from betrayal. Pain shows up in many different forms. But why does pain exist? Why do we have to go through such painful experiences? Pain, in its purest form, is an unavoidable part of life. It can come when we least expect it and hit us hard. But there's something about pain that forces us to face reality. When we're going through it, we can't hide from it. We feel it with every fiber of our being, and it often feels like it's the end of the world. However, pain often serves as a mirror showing us truths about ourselves, the world, and others that we might not have seen otherwise. It teaches us lessons that are sometimes hard to accept, but that's exactly where the power lies. Without pain, we might never grow or learn the things we need to understand to live better, more meaningful lives. While we'd all rather avoid pain, it's actually one of the greatest teachers we can have. When we go through pain, we are forced to stop and reflect. We can no longer live in a state of ignorance. Pain often opens our eyes, and as much as we might wish to avoid it, we must recognize that it has a teaching power that we can't deny. Let me ask you, have you ever failed at something you really cared about? Maybe you lost a job, got rejected from your dream school, or had a relationship end unexpectedly. The pain of that moment was heavy, wasn't it? But here's the question. What did you learn from that experience? Maybe that failure taught you resilience, how to keep going even when things seem impossible. Or perhaps it taught you patience and humility, or the value of making better choices in the future. Sometimes pain teaches us the most profound lessons about who we really are. When we learn from our painful experiences, those lessons become the foundation for our future decisions and behaviors. Think about the lessons you've learned from difficult times in your life. Perhaps a difficult breakup taught you self-worth. Maybe a time of financial hardship taught you the value of hard work and saving. Even the pain of losing a loved one may have taught you to appreciate the time you have with others more deeply. The power of lessons lies in their ability to reshape us. They don't just stay in our minds. As ideas, they impact how we behave, how we think, and how we approach life. Every lesson learned from pain is like a brick in the foundation of a stronger, more thoughtful version of yourself. But here's the key. The lesson is only as powerful as your willingness to learn from it. Pain is inevitable, but learning from it is a choice. It requires self-reflection and a willingness to grow, even when it's uncomfortable. Now, let's talk about transformation. When we learn from our pain, we don't just bounce back to where we were before. It's not like hitting the reset button. Pain changes us. Sometimes, it reshapes our entire outlook on life. Think about it. Have you ever gone through a painful experience only to find yourself a different person afterward? Maybe you were once someone who gave up easily, but after overcoming a difficult challenge, you discovered strength and resilience you didn't know you had. Pain has this incredible ability to refine us, to burn away the things that no longer serve us, and to reveal the person we are meant to become. This is why some people come out of pain even more confident, more compassionate, and more determined. The key here is that pain leads to personal growth, but only if we allow it to. Pain can break us down, yes, but if we embrace the lessons it offers, it can also build us up into someone stronger and wiser than before. Pain itself is not what determines whether we'll grow, it's how we choose to respond to it that makes all the difference. We've all heard the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But here's the truth. What doesn't kill you can still leave you scarred. You have to actively choose to learn from pain instead of letting it define you in a negative way. When you're in the middle of a painful situation, it's hard to see beyond the pain. You might feel like it's too much to bear, or like it's a burden that's never going to end. But if you take a step back and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? You open yourself to the possibility of growth and change. Pain is a universal experience. No one is immune to it. It comes in many forms, but it's always an invitation to learn and grow. Pain is a teacher. It offers us lessons we can't always see in the moment, but in hindsight, they often reveal themselves as some of the most important lessons we'll ever learn. The lessons we learn from pain transform us. With each lesson, we become more resilient, more thoughtful, and more compassionate. The key is our response. Pain doesn't automatically make us stronger. It's how we choose to respond to pain that ultimately shapes who we become. What lesson has pain taught you that you didn't understand at the time, but now, in hindsight, change you forever? Remember, every pain carries a lesson, and every lesson has the power to change you. Pain is something we all experience in various forms throughout our lives. It is an inevitable part of the human experience, one that we cannot escape, whether it's physical or emotional. Pain is something everyone faces at some point. But what we may not fully grasp is that pain isn't just something to endure, it is something that can change us, shape us, and ultimately guide us toward becoming the person we are meant to be. Let's take a deeper look at what pain really is, how it affects us, and what we can learn from it. Pain can be defined in two major forms, emotional and physical. Physical pain is the kind we experience when we hurt ourselves or face a physical illness. It's the kind of pain we feel when we break a bone, when we're sick with the flu, or when we undergo surgery. Physical pain can often be sharp, immediate, and intense. It is something we can usually trace back to a specific event, injury, or condition. But emotional pain? This is something that's harder to define, and yet it is just as real, if not more impactful, than physical pain. Emotional pain refers to the feelings we experience when we face difficult situations that cause us distress. It might come from heartbreak, loss, grief, rejection, loneliness, or failure. This type of pain doesn't always have a visible sign like a bruise or wound, but it can leave lasting scars that affect our hearts and minds. While physical pain can often be healed with time and care, emotional pain sometimes takes longer to heal, and it might never fully go away. It tends to leave us with emotional baggage that can take years to unpack, or at times, never fully leave us. One of the toughest truths about pain is that it is inevitable. No one can escape it. We will all face pain at some point in our lives. The question is, how do we approach it? How do we choose to respond to it? Think of pain as a universal experience. It doesn't care about your age, your background, or your status in life. Pain is part of the human condition, and no one is immune to it. However, while we can't control when pain happens or what form it will take, we do have control over how we let it shape us. Pain is universal, and while we can't avoid it, we can control how we let it shape us. This means that pain, while unavoidable, doesn't have to define us negatively. Instead of letting it harden us, make us bitter, or hold us back, we can use it as an opportunity to learn, grow, and ultimately become stronger. When we face pain, we often find ourselves at a crossroads. We can allow it to break us down, or we can decide to use it as a stepping stone to build ourselves back up. It's about perspective. Pain can either be a hindrance or a tool for growth. It's up to us to choose how to wield it. There are many types of pain that we can experience, and each one comes with its own set of challenges and lessons. Let's take a closer look at some of these types of pain. First is heartbreak. Heartbreak is one of the most common forms of emotional pain. Whether it's the end of a romantic relationship, the loss of a friendship, or a family member turning their back on us, heartbreak leaves a deep wound. It often feels like we're losing a part of ourselves, as if our world is falling apart. Heartbreak can make us feel worthless, lonely, or afraid of trusting others again. But heartbreak also teaches us about resilience and self-love. It forces us to reevaluate our sense of self-worth and reminds us that we can survive even the most painful emotional losses. Second is failure. Failure can be one of the most painful experiences in life. It's easy to feel defeated, frustrated, or ashamed when we fall short of our goals or expectations. Whether it's failing at a job, a personal project, or a dream we worked hard for, failure often feels like a punch to the gut. But failure isn't the end of the lesson in disguise. Failure teaches us about perseverance, adaptability, and the importance of trying again. It's through failure that we learn the most important lessons about ourselves, and it often helps us to find even better paths to success. Third is loss. Loss, whether it's the death of a loved one, the loss of a job, or the end of a significant phase in life, is one of the most profound types of pain. Grief from loss can feel overwhelming and all-consuming, leaving us feeling as though we're walking through life in a fog. But loss also teaches us about the fragility of life, the importance of cherishing the people and moments we have, and the strength we possess to carry on after something precious is taken from us. Though the pain of loss never fully disappears, it teaches us how to live more meaningfully and appreciate the time we have. Third is personal struggle. Personal struggles often stem from within, whether it's dealing with insecurity, battling mental health challenges, or struggling with personal growth. These internal battles can be invisible to others, yet they are just as painful. Personal struggles test our resilience, challenge our self-esteem, and force us to confront part of ourselves we might rather avoid. But through these struggles, we learn more about who we are, what we're capable of, and how we can break free from the chains that hold us back. Personal struggles often lead to profound growth, as they push us towards self-acceptance and transformation. The truth is, pain is one of the most transformative experiences we can go through. While it's easy to wish we could avoid it, the reality is that pain holds valuable lessons. It shapes our character, builds our resilience, and helps us develop empathy for others. And the most beautiful part of pain is that through each lesson it provides, we come out on the other side changed, hopefully for the better. Remember, pain might be inevitable, but the choice to learn and grow from it is ours. And with each lesson learned, we become stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next challenge that life throws our way. So, the next time you're going through something painful, ask yourself, what lesson can I learn from this? How can this change me for the better? Because every pain gives a lesson, and every lesson changes a person. Pain, whether physical, emotional, or mental, has a unique ability to teach us lessons that we might never learn through joy or comfort. It is often in our moments of greatest struggle that we experience our deepest personal growth. The reason for this is simple. Pain forces us to confront the truth about ourselves and our circumstances. It takes away the distractions and the superficial layers of our lives, revealing a deeper understanding of who we truly are and what truly matters. How pain teaches us lessons we wouldn't learn otherwise. Imagine you're going through a challenging time, whether it's losing a job, ending a relationship, or dealing with the death of a loved one. In those moments, you're not thinking about the next vacation or what you'll eat for dinner. You're focused on survival, on making it through. It's in these moments that we often learn lessons we never would have learned in easier times. For example, when we face failure, we often learn humility. It's easy to feel invincible when things are going well. But failure brings us down to earth. It reminds us that we're human and that our success isn't guaranteed. It teaches us the value of hard work, resilience, and patience, and it often inspires a sense of gratitude when things do go right. Failure, in this sense, humbles us and makes us more aware of how fragile and precious success can be. Similarly, grief often teaches us strength. When we lose someone close to us or we face any significant form of loss, we find strength we never thought we had. We may not recognize it first, but over time, we realize how much we've learned about our own inner resilience. Grief teaches us to value our loved ones while they're still with us, and to embrace the moments of joy and love that we have. It challenges us to grow beyond the pain, and in doing so, we often discover a version of ourselves that is stronger, more compassionate, and more understanding. One of the most powerful aspects of pain is that it strips away the illusions and false beliefs we may have about ourselves and the world around us. In our day-to-day lives, it's easy to get caught up in expectations, material pursuits, or the need to appear perfect to others. But pain, whether it's the loss of something important or the experience of deep personal struggle, pulls back the curtain and reveals reality in its rawest form. Think about the times when you've been through something difficult. Perhaps a relationship ended, or you face financial hardship. During those moments, you realize what really mattered: family, true friends, your health, or your own sense of peace. Pain forces you to face reality, to stop pretending everything is perfect, and to confront the areas of your life that you may have been avoiding or neglecting. It strips away the distractions and superficial concerns that often cloud our judgment, leaving us with a clearer understanding of what truly matters in life. In a sense, pain acts as a wake-up call. It forces us to let go of the things that are no longer serving us and pushes us to prioritize what's truly important. This can be uncomfortable, but it is often in these moments of discomfort that we experience the most profound growth. Pain teaches us to embrace the real, the genuine, and the honest, and it challenges us to let go of the illusions we've built around ourselves. Not all lessons learned through pain are dramatic or obvious. Sometimes, the most profound lessons come quietly, without fanfare. You may not immediately recognize a lesson pain is teaching you, but with time, you begin to see how it shaped your perspective and your character. For example, after going through a tough breakup, you might not feel the lesson immediately. You may experience anger, sadness, or regret. But as time passes, you may come to realize that the experience taught you more about self-love, self-respect, and the importance of setting boundaries. These lessons aren't always evident in the moment of pain, but they often reveal themselves as you reflect on the journey and look back on how you've grown. At other times, the lessons of pain can hit us suddenly, with the force of a ton of bricks. These are the moments that are hard to ignore, the life-changing moments that force us to stop and take notice. For example, a health scare can wake us up to the fragility of life and the need to prioritize our well-being. A major loss can shake us to our core, making us realize how much we took certain people or things for granted. Whether subtle or sudden, the lessons pain brings are always meaningful. They help us understand ourselves better, grow in unexpected ways, and gain a deeper appreciation for life and all its complexities. Pain, in all its forms, can be a harsh teacher, but it is one that offers invaluable lessons. Whether through failure, grief, or personal struggle, pain teaches us humility, strength, and resilience. It strips away our illusions and forces us to face reality with greater clarity. And while some lessons come quietly, others arrive with a loud, undeniable force, both of them shaping us into stronger, wiser people. So, the next time you experience pain, remember that it's not something to avoid or fear. Instead, see it as an opportunity, a chance to learn, grow, and evolve into a better version of yourself. Pain may be inevitable, but the lessons it offers are invaluable. Pain is often seen as something negative, something to avoid at all costs. But what if we started seeing pain not as a burden, but as a powerful teacher? It's true that pain can change us, but it does so by imparting lessons, valuable lessons that, if we take the time to learn, can help us grow in ways we never imagined. Pain, whether emotional or physical, often feels like the heaviest thing to carry. It's uncomfortable, it's challenging, and sometimes it feels like it has no purpose. However, every painful experience, no matter how hard, holds a lesson that can lead us toward greater understanding and personal growth. Think about a time when you failed, maybe you didn't get the job you were hoping for, or a project didn't turn out the way you envisioned it. In that moment, you probably felt a deep sense of disappointment. But here's the catch. If we look closely, these failures carry with them the seeds of wisdom. Perhaps you learned the value of patience, or maybe you realize that you need to be more prepared next time. The truth is, pain can shape us into better versions of ourselves, but only if we're open to learning from it. Let's take an example. Imagine you've poured your heart and soul into a project, whether it's a business venture, an artistic endeavor, or a personal goal. But despite your best efforts, it fails. You feel defeated. You wonder what went wrong. And if you're truly cut out for this, the pain of failure can be overwhelming. But it's also where one of the most valuable lessons lies: perseverance. Through that painful experience, you learn to keep going, even when things don't work out as planned. You learn that failure is not the end, but just another part of the journey. Instead of letting your failure define you, you decide to use it as a stepping stone to success. The lesson of perseverance doesn't just teach you to keep moving forward, it teaches you to believe in your ability to improve, to adapt, and to rise again. When we allow ourselves to learn from painful experiences, we unlock a new level of strength and resilience. We begin to understand that every challenge is an opportunity for growth, and each failure becomes a lesson that shapes us into someone who is more capable and confident. Pain doesn't just teach us lessons, it transforms us. Every lesson we learn from a difficult experience reshapes the way we see ourselves and the world around us. These lessons influence our values, beliefs, and even the way we relate to others. For example, someone who has experienced a lot of pain in life might develop a deep sense of empathy for others who are struggling. They understand what it feels like to be in the depths of hardship, and as a result, they're better able to offer support and kindness. Imagine how different your perspective would be if you had never faced any challenges. Without the trials and tribulations, you would never have learned the depth of your own strength. You wouldn't know what you're truly capable of until life forced you to rise above adversity. As you learn from pain, you start to see the world differently. You may no longer fear challenges, but instead approach them with a mindset that says, I may not know how this will turn out, but I trust that it will teach me something valuable. This shift in perspective can make all the difference in how we face the world, and it influences how we handle future struggles. Now, I want you to think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever faced a painful experience that taught you something so powerful that it changed your outlook on life? Maybe you face a major setback, but through it, you learn the importance of patience or humility. Or perhaps you went through a difficult breakup, and in that pain, you discovered your own worth and strength. Can you think of a time when pain, although difficult to go through, ultimately became the teacher you never knew you needed? Reflecting on these experiences can help you see that pain is not something to be avoided at all costs. Instead, it's an essential part of life's learning process, an integral part of our personal growth. When we face pain and learn from it, we grow in ways we didn't think possible. These lessons shape our values, our beliefs, and our actions. Pain isn't just an obstacle to overcome. It's a teacher that, if we're willing to listen, can guide us toward becoming better, stronger individuals. So the next time you encounter pain, instead of focusing on the hurt it causes, try to see it as an opportunity to learn. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? How can I grow from this experience? It may not be easy, but the lessons that come from our struggles can lead to profound personal transformation. And remember, every pain gives a lesson, and every lesson changes a person. That's the beauty of the journey. Pain doesn't define us. The lessons we learn from it do. Pain has a unique way of reaching deep into the core of our being, often in ways we don't initially understand. It challenges us, shakes us to our foundations, and demands that we reconsider everything we thought we knew about ourselves and the world around us. But what if I told you that pain, though uncomfortable, is also a catalyst for profound personal transformation? Pain doesn't just affect us on a surface level. It changes us from the inside out. When we go through difficult experiences, we often emerge as a new version of ourselves, sometimes someone we hardly recognize. We may not always see at the time, but the painful moments are actually shaping us, molding us into people who are more resilient, more empathetic, and more aware of our inner strength. Pain has this incredible ability to reveal parts of ourselves that we never knew existed, parts that grow stronger with every challenge we face. Let me share an example to illustrate this point. Imagine a person who has always been shy, hesitant to speak up or assert themselves in social situations. Maybe this person has always kept to the background, afraid of being judged or making a mistake. Now, picture that person experiencing a significant personal loss, perhaps the death of someone close, a sudden breakup, or the loss of a job. The pain that comes with such a loss can feel overwhelming, almost like it's taken everything they knew about themselves and ripped it apart. But here's the surprising part. Through the process of mourning, adjusting, and healing, something shifts within that person. The pain becomes a turning point. The person starts to confront their deepest fears, acknowledge their vulnerabilities, and realize that they can survive even the most painful of experiences. This might lead them to step out of their comfort zone in small ways. Perhaps they speak up in a meeting they would have once avoided, or they initiate a conversation with someone they would have previously been too shy to approach. As time goes on, the once shy person begins to transform. They gain a new sense of confidence, not because they're suddenly fixed, but because they've learned to embrace their pain and use it as a tool for growth. They become someone who can face discomfort and come out stronger on the other side. This is just one example, but it's a testament to how pain can transform us at our core. The lessons we learn from pain don't just add to our knowledge, they become part of who we are. They shape our character, influence our decisions, and ultimately build the person we are becoming. With every hardship, we are presented with a chance to reinvent ourselves, to evolve into a more self-assured and capable version of who we once were. What's even more powerful is that pain doesn't only make us stronger, it also makes us more compassionate. When we experience pain, we gain insight into the struggles of others. We develop empathy for those who are going through their own challenges because we've walked that difficult path ourselves. This new sense of compassion can be one of the most beautiful outcomes of pain. It enables us to connect with others on a deeper level, offering support and understanding in a way that someone who hasn't experienced such struggles might not be able to. Think about it. When we've been through something painful, we are better equipped to reach out to others in their moments of pain. We know what it feels like to need a helping hand or just a kind word. And as a result, we're more likely to offer that support when we see others in need. Pain has the power to unite us, to create a sense of shared experience, and remind us that no one is truly alone in their struggles. And then there's resilience. Pain teaches us resilience, an inner strength we often didn't realize we had. When we're going through hardship, it's easy to feel like we're not strong enough to keep going. But as we push through the pain, we discover that we have an incredible capacity for endurance. We realize that we can take on challenges we once thought were insurmountable. This newfound resilience doesn't just make us stronger for the next challenge, it fundamentally changes how we approach life. We learn to face difficulties with a renewed sense of confidence, knowing that we survived worse and emerged better. So, I'd like to ask you, what changes have you noticed in yourself after going through something painful? Have you become more confident, more compassionate, or perhaps more resilient? Have you learned something new about yourself, something you wouldn't have discovered if you hadn't gone through that difficult experience? Take a moment to reflect on how pain has transformed you into the person you are today. Remember, it's not the pain itself that defines us, but how we choose to respond to it. If we choose to learn, to grow, and to allow pain to shape us positively, we can emerge as the best versions of ourselves. Pain, while it may feel unbearable at times, can lead to profound personal growth. Pain is one of the most universally shared experiences. It doesn't discriminate, it affects everyone, regardless of age, race, or background. Whether it's the sharp sting of emotional heartbreak, the heavy weight of failure, or the deep sorrow of loss, pain is something that each of us will encounter at some point. But here's the crucial truth. While pain is inevitable, it is a decision to learn from it that truly defines how it impacts our lives. Let's be honest, there's no magic switch that flips when we experience pain. Just because we go through something difficult doesn't mean we'll come out of it stronger, wiser, or more resilient. Some people, in fact, come out of painful experiences feeling weaker, more lost, or more afraid. Pain by itself does not automatically grant us strength. It's a raw and unpleasant experience, and it can leave us feeling broken or defeated if we don't take the right approach. For example, think about a person who faces a failure in their career. If they let that failure consume them and don't learn from it, they may begin to feel as though they are incapable of success. They might retreat into themselves, avoiding risks and new opportunities out of fear. On the other hand, if they decide to reflect on what went wrong, whether it was a lack of preparation, poor timing, or simply external factors, and they use it as a chance to grow, they can come out of it much stronger. Without reflecting on the pain, we can easily fall into despair, repeating the same mistakes, or letting the experience shape our perspective in a negative way. Reflection is where the growth happens. Here lies the most powerful thing about pain. It presents us with a choice. Yes, pain is inevitable, but how we respond to it is entirely within our control. We get to choose whether we learn from it or allow it to control us. After experiencing pain, we can choose to reflect. This means looking deeply at the situation, asking ourselves the hard questions. What did I learn from this? What could I have done differently? What has this experience taught me about myself? Reflecting doesn't mean wallowing in self-pity or resentment. It's about taking the time to process and acknowledge the lessons hidden in the experience, no matter how uncomfortable they might be. Once we've reflected, the next step is action. We can take the lessons we've learned and use them to fuel our personal growth. This could look like adopting a new mindset, changing our behavior, or approaching future challenges with more wisdom and resilience. For example, someone who experiences a loss of a loved one might reflect on the love and connection they shared, and use that pain to become more empathetic and compassionate toward others. Instead of shutting down emotionally, they might open up to others more freely and cherish their relationships. But what happens when we choose not to learn from our pain? When we choose to ignore the lessons or allow bitterness and resentment to take over, that's when pain can begin to have a detrimental effect on our lives. Instead of growing, we risk becoming stagnant. We may find ourselves stuck in a cycle of negative emotions: anger, sadness, fear, or regret. These emotions can take root and become a part of our identity if we don't confront them and allow them to teach us. We might start blaming others for our pain, or even blaming ourselves in unhealthy ways. This cycle of negativity can cause us to withdraw from life, avoid new opportunities, or stop trusting people altogether. We might even close ourselves off from experiencing joy because we're so focused on the hurt. For example, a person who has been deeply betrayed by a friend might allow that experience to define their view of friendship. They may hold on to anger and distrust, refusing to open up to others because they fear being hurt again. Instead of learning from the betrayal, perhaps gaining insight into what boundaries should have been in place, or learning how to recognize red flags that allow the pain to control their behavior, keeping them trapped in a negative, fearful mindset. This can lead to what I call the stagnation of the soul, a feeling of being stuck in one place emotionally and mentally. It's like trying to move forward while dragging around a heavy anchor. Instead of evolving and adapting, we stay stuck in the past, unable to break free from pain because we haven't learned the lessons it was trying to teach us. When we choose to learn from our pain, we unlock the potential for transformation. Each painful experience has the possibility to make us wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. Pain, when approached with the right mindset, doesn't have to define us in a negative way. It can be the catalyst for personal growth, for changing our approach to life, and for deepening our understanding of ourselves and others. So, how do we ensure that we don't let pain trap us in a cycle of bitterness and stagnation? We make the conscious decision to learn, to reflect, to embrace the discomfort, and to use it as fuel for our personal evolution. This is not easy and it may take time, but it is absolutely worth it. Pain is a natural part of life, and it will come in many forms. The key, however, is that we get to decide how it shapes us. Will we let it drag us down into bitterness and stagnation? Or will we choose to learn from it and allow it to make us better, stronger, and more compassionate people? The choice is always ours. The next time you face pain, remember this. It's not about avoiding it or letting it define you. It's about learning from it and using those lessons to grow. What lessons has pain taught you? How have you allowed those lessons to shape who you are today? Reflect on those moments. And remember, the greatest transformation often comes from the hardest trials. Pain is something every person on this planet will experience, regardless of who they are or where they come from. It doesn't matter your background, age, or circumstances, pain will find its way into your life at some point. It may come in different forms: physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, but it is universal. The key point here is that pain is a part of being human. We often try to avoid pain, push it away, or wish it away. But the truth is, it's something we all face. It's not a punishment, nor is it something to be ashamed of. It's simply part of the human experience. It's important to remember that pain is inevitable, and by accepting that, we free ourselves from the unrealistic expectation that we can avoid it. Instead, we can prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally to handle it in a healthy way. Every painful experience has a lesson. Although pain is difficult, it's not without purpose. Every painful experience carries with it a lesson that can't be taught through easy, comfortable moments. Think about it. The most significant lessons we often learn in life don't come from our successes, but from our struggles. When we experience pain, it forces us to pause and reflect. Whether the painful breakup, the loss of a loved one, or failure in our career, each experience has something valuable to offer. Pain teaches us patience, resilience, humility, and sometimes the importance of letting go. These lessons aren't always immediately clear, and often it's only in hindsight that we understand what we were meant to learn. The lesson may not always be about how to avoid pain, but more about how to handle it when it comes. Pain can teach us who we truly are when the circumstances are at their toughest. It reveals strengths we didn't know we had and helps us build a deeper understanding of the world and others. Those lessons change us, often for better. Pain has the power to change us, sometimes in ways we don't expect. The lessons learned from painful experiences can be transformative, shaping us into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate individuals. For instance, someone who has endured hardship may develop a newfound sense of empathy, understanding the struggles of others in a way they never could have before. Those who've been through loss may become more appreciative of their relationships, valuing the time they have with loved ones. Pain has this incredible ability to refine us, much like gold being purified by fire. It doesn't always feel like a blessing in the moment, but when we look back, we realize how much we've grown through it. Pain doesn't define us. It transforms us. We don't emerge from it the same person we were when we went in. We become better versions of ourselves, versions who are more capable of handling life's ups and downs. The choice to learn from pain is in our hands. This is perhaps one of the most powerful points. While pain is inevitable, how we respond to it is completely up to us. We have the power to choose how we let pain affect us. We can choose to let pain break us, to let it lead us into bitterness and anger, or we can choose to learn from it. Every painful moment in life offers us a choice. Will we rise above it, or will we stay stuck in it? Choosing to learn from pain is a deliberate decision. It requires reflection, humility, and often time. It may involve asking ourselves tough questions. What did I learn from this? How can I use this experience to grow? By choosing to learn from pain, we allow it to shape us in a positive way. We can take the lessons and use them as stepping stones toward becoming a better, stronger version of ourselves. But remember, that choice is ours. No one else can make it for us. In conclusion, every painful experience, no matter how difficult, carries with it the potential to change us. Pain can make us wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. The lessons we learn from pain, whether small or life-changing, help us grow in ways we never could have imagined. The real question, however, is whether or not we will let it. Will we allow pain to be a force for growth in our lives, or will we allow it to define us in negative ways? Will we rise above it, learning its lessons, or will we let it pull us down into despair? The choice is in our hands. Every pain we experience is a chance for transformation. It's an opportunity to become a better version of ourselves. The real power lies in how we choose to respond. Remember, the next time you face pain, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Every pain we endure leaves us with a lesson, and every lesson transforms us into a better version of ourselves. Remember, no challenge is ever wasted. It's a stepping stone to growth. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one lesson pain has taught you that changed your life? Maybe you learned about resilience after loss, or maybe you discovered the importance of self-love after facing rejection. Whatever it is, share your story in the comment below, because your experience could inspire someone else who's going through something similar. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We'll be sharing more thought-provoking videos just like this one, designed to help you reflect, grow, and embrace life's lessons.